Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream. I'm going to do your January the 29th just for today in a meditation. Hope you're doing well this morning. January the 29th is entitled The First Step, an Action Step. Do we understand that we have no real control over drugs? That comes from the basic text, page 18. At first, many of us may have thought the first step required no action. We just surrender and go on to step 2. But step 1 does require action. The action we take in the first step will be evident in the way we live, even from our first day clean. If we truly believe that we are powerless over our addiction, we will not choose to be around drugs. To continue to live with or associate with practicing addicts may indicate a reservation in our program. An absolute belief that the first step applies to us will ensure that we clear our homes of all drugs and paraphernalia. As time goes on, we'll not only continue with the basics, but add new actions to our first step repertoire. We'll learn to feel our feelings rather than trying to control them. We'll stop trying to be our own and only guides on our recovery journey. Self-sponsorship will cease. We'll begin looking to a power greater than ourselves more and more for spiritual satisfaction rather than trying to fill that void with something else. Surrender is only the beginning. Once we surrender, we need to learn how to live in the peace we have found. Just for today, I will take all the action necessary to practice the first step. I truly believe it applies to me. Let's take a moment of silence followed by the we version of Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Please and thank you. So we're talking about the first step and action step today, and whether or not an individual, beyond having the desire to stop using, beyond that, because once you stop using, you have stopped using drugs, right? It's just like anything else that we're trying to stop. Once you stop picking it up, ingesting it, putting it in your body, maybe the detox from it is difficult, depending on what it is. But once we have taught our brains that we can actually stop, that message has already been conveyed and stored in our brains. I can stop. We only need to stop one time. Many of us will stop a few times, okay? But the point is that technically, once you do it once, you have learned that you can do it. And there's no need for you to go back to learning that piece again, okay? So what happens is that once we have stopped, we want to access the benefits completely of stopping. And the only way to access the benefits completely of stopping is to do some of the work that comes with it. All right? What's some of the work that comes with it? The first step is usually a catalyst to the second step, right? It always should be, rather, right? But the first step is not a step that just happens because you stop using drugs. And I think that's where the dissonance is sometimes, is that people correlate just stopping, having the desire to, right? The desire to stop using, and actually stopping. They correlate that with having taken a first step. And even though that is partially true, we admitted that we were powerless over the disease of addiction and that our lives had become unmanageable, right? Part of that is true, that the not using piece, we can naturally say it should be incorporated in that step one. But a lot of times you've already done the not using before you get to the actual processing of step one. That's the point, right? The two don't naturally just go together, but one will make the working of the first step more possible. And the working of the first step has actions that go with it. And that's why we say there's a few steps that you want to make sure that you nail them, that you get them down. And step one is one of those, because a lot of times people will say, I'm an addict. I have a desire to stop using, but they don't have the works or the proof that goes along with that. What are some of the things that a person that recognizes they need a step one as an action step in their lives? It tells us some of the things that go along with it. If we truly believe that we are powerless over our addiction, listen to this. We will not choose to be around drugs. We won't choose to continue to live or associate with practicing addicts, because doing so means that we 9 times out of 10 have some sort of reservation in our program. Now, people that are married and their mates are using and they've decided to get clean, that's a complicated one. But even in that instance, I've seen people just pick up and go. I'm not going to live in a home where there's actively using individuals, because now my life is at stake and the lives of my children are at stake. You know it and I know it. So when you decide to jump on this recovery wagon, let me know. And it has nothing to do with whether or not I love you. It has everything to do with whether or not I love who I am today, who I am becoming today, who I desire to become, what I want to bring to the table for my children today, right? And so that happens oftentimes. It says that absolute belief that the first step applies to us will ensure that we clear our homes of all drugs and paraphernalia. A lot of people have never done a home cleanse. I call it a home cleanse. That means that I am no longer using, and I realize that there's probably some stuff around here that shouldn't be here. I invite 2 other people, right? And I say 2 other people because one other person can become weak, but 2 other people to come in and help me do a home cleanse. Everyone has gloves on. Sometimes we might have to have masks on, right? The whole goal is that we're going to help you clean the areas of your home that you indicate you want help going through, where you more than likely have hidden paraphernalia. I've seen people hide pipes in their dirt from their plants that they have. I've seen, there's been tons of places where I've helped with home cleanses and stuff has been tucked away quickly because someone's coming into the room, or just hidden in strange places that sometimes, quite honestly, you may never remember. You might still happen upon it, but at least if you do a home cleanse and try to remove all drugs and paraphernalia from your home, That's also indicative of the absolute belief that a first step applies to you. So we get the point today, right? That we want to take action. We want to take all of the actions necessary to practice the first step and believe that it applies to us. And I know some people that just honestly, because of terminology, this confusion with saying, clean and sober, alcoholism versus addiction, right? And an absolute unwillingness to admit that alcohol is a drug. It may not be the drug of choice. I've seen people relapse because they thought they could take a drink. They thought they could be around people that were drinking. And it just woke up the desire for them to use other things, their drugs of choice. And so we don't want to be fooled by that. We can't afford to have that kind of reservation in our program, can we? I know that I can't. I've enjoyed talking to you today. My name is MightyStream, and I am going to talk to you tomorrow. I'm going to have a beautiful day on purpose. It's 4:34 a.m. I want for you to also have a beautiful day on purpose. Go get them.